You've been told that if you just work hard enough, if you sacrifice enough, if you grind long enough, life will eventually reward you. That money will come, success will follow, and the struggle will make sense one day. But what if that's the biggest lie you've ever believed? What if the real key to wealth was never about how much effort you give, but how much inner alignment you build? Most people wake up every morning fighting their lives, fighting bills, fighting time, fighting fear. They think they're chasing money, but what they're really chasing is safety, a feeling that maybe, just maybe, they'll finally be okay. But wealth doesn't come to those who chase safety. It comes to those who are bold enough to act like nothing bothers them, calm in the storm, grounded in chaos, unshaken by temporary loss. Because the truth is this: the world doesn't pay the most desperate person, it pays the most aligned one. Look around. You'll see people who work twice as hard as everyone else, yet still struggle to pay their rent. You'll see others who seem to glide through life effortlessly, attracting opportunities, investors, promotions, and money, as if the universe itself is biased in their favor. It's not bias, it's frequency. The universe doesn't listen to words, it listens to vibration. And every day you wake up, you're broadcasting one. Through your thoughts, through your emotions, through your self-talk. You are telling the world who you are, whether you realize it or not. If your signal says, "I'm tired, I'm anxious, I'm trying to survive," then that's exactly what you'll get: more struggle to survive. But if your signal says, "I'm calm, I'm in control, I move with purpose," then money begins to recognize you. Because money is drawn to stability, not the loudest voice, not the hardest worker, but the one who operates from quiet certainty. There's a difference between the person who chases money and the one who attracts it. The chaser wakes up in fear. The attractor wakes up in faith. The chaser believes wealth is something to hunt down. The attractor knows wealth is a mirror. It reflects who you are. Napoleon Hill said, "Your only limitation is the one you set up in your own mind." And that's not just motivation, that's physics. Every doubt you carry, every moment you complain about being broke, every word that drips with fear, it all becomes a code in your subconscious, teaching your brain to expect scarcity. So let's rewrite that code, right now. You've got to learn to act as if nothing bothers you, not because you don't care, but because you understand that panic is poison. Emotionally mature people don't chase stability, they become it. The more you react to every challenge, every delay, every disappointment, the more you train your nervous system to vibrate in chaos. And chaos repels wealth. Have you ever noticed that the most successful people move differently? They're not in a hurry. They're not shouting about their plans. They walk into rooms with a kind of still confidence, a quiet energy that says, "I belong here." That is wealth frequency. It's not arrogance, it's mastery. When you learn to stay composed, even when things fall apart, you tell the universe you are ready for more. Because nothing scares abundance more than instability. Wealth wants to stay where it feels safe, and that safety begins in your energy. There's a story about a man who once lost everything: his business, his marriage, his home. For months he was angry. Every day he cursed life. Until one morning, standing in front of a mirror, he realized the truth. His energy had become his prison. He was living in constant reaction to fear, to failure, to loss. That day, he made one promise to himself: "From this moment on, I will act as if nothing bothers me." He didn't mean indifference, he meant emotional command. When the bills came, he didn't panic. When opportunities failed, he didn't spiral. Instead, he sat down, breathed, and asked, "What would a calm, abundant man do right now?" And that question changed everything. Within a year, he rebuilt his business. Within 2, he was mentoring others. And within 3, he wasn't chasing money. Money was chasing him. Because the wealthiest mindset in the world is this: calm under fire. Average people believe emotion is power. Intentional people know control is power. Emotion is noise. Control is signal. And wealth follows signal. But to reach that level, you have to stop living in survival mode. Most people spend their lives as emotional reactors. They complain about bills, panic about income, and blame the world for not rewarding their effort. But life doesn't respond to effort, it responds to energy. You've got to stop broadcasting stress like it's a badge of honor. "I'm grinding, I'm exhausted, I'm trying." You're not trying. You're reinforcing the frequency of struggle. You can't attract wealth while vibrating in lack. Learn to sit in stillness. Learn to act calm when everything around you is chaotic. Learn to breathe when everyone else is breaking, because that's when the universe tests your alignment. The moment you stop chasing and start commanding, you become magnetic. There's a line from the old masters of wealth philosophy. You don't demand abundance, you align with it. Alignment means every thought, every word, every movement carries the same vibration. I am already enough. I am already valuable. I am already wealthy in mind before I am wealthy in bank. Do you know why the rich seem unbothered? Because they've trained themselves to feel abundance, even when it's not visible yet. They don't get rich first, they feel rich first. And that feeling draws wealth in, like gravity. The poor wait for money to give them peace. The wealthy create peace to attract money. That's the game. When you learn to act as if nothing bothers you, you begin to operate at a higher frequency, where money, opportunity, and favor live. You stop sending signals of desperation and start radiating authority. And that's when everything shifts. Sigh, every quiet "I can't" you whisper under your breath is a command, and the universe never argues, it only responds. So when you say, "I'm broke," you're not describing a moment, you're defining your identity, and identity becomes frequency. Frequency becomes reality. The reason most people stay broke isn't because they lack skills or effort, it's because they've programmed their nervous system to vibrate in lack. They live as if money is an enemy, as if wealth is an exception, as if success belongs to someone else. But abundance doesn't discriminate. It only asks one question: are you aligned with me or not? Napoleon Hill once said, "You become what you think about." But let me add this: you attract what you emotionally practice. You can think about wealth all day, but if your emotions are trained in scarcity, you'll keep getting scarcity. If your emotions are trained in calm certainty, you'll start to magnetize wealth naturally. That's why you must learn to act as if nothing bothers you, because calmness is the sign of alignment. When you're calm, you're clear, and when you're clear, you make decisions that multiply your value. Let's make this real. Imagine two people lose their job on the same day. The first one panics. They rush into fear. They say, "Why me? I'm cursed. I'll never recover." Their frequency collapses. They start accepting less, thinking smaller, doubting themselves. The second one breathes. They say, "All right, life just created space for something greater." They start reviewing their skills, reaching out, creating opportunities. And within months, doors open that were invisible before. Same loss, different vibration. This isn't luck, it's law. The person who reacts with fear sends a message to the universe: "I don't trust abundance." The one who remains calm says, "I'm ready for what's next." And the universe always responds to readiness, not panic. Acting unbothered doesn't mean pretending everything's perfect. It means knowing that everything serves your evolution. Every closed door, every failed investment, every delay, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. When you understand that, you start moving differently. You stop begging for opportunity and start preparing for it. You stop asking, "When will things change?" and start saying, "I'm already changing them." You stop living like a victim of your circumstances and start living like an architect of your reality. That's wealth consciousness. Because here's a secret: money doesn't respond to need, it responds to direction. The energy of desperation repels it, but the energy of clarity pulls it closer. Think of every truly wealthy person you've met. They never sound desperate. They speak calmly, even about challenges. Their words carry weight. Why? Because they're not begging for results, they're commanding them. They understand the subtle law of wealth. Emotion creates direction, and direction creates flow. That's why you have to master your emotions before you master your finances. You can't expect money to stay where your energy keeps shaking. Every time you lose control, when you panic, complain, or spiral into doubt, you break the signal of abundance. You go offline, and while you're offline, opportunities pass you by. But the moment you return to stillness, when you breathe, recenter, and remind yourself, "I'm already aligned," your frequency reconnects, and life begins to flow again. You can test this right now. Close your eyes and imagine two versions of yourself. Version 1, anxious, frustrated, trying to control everything. Feel how heavy that energy is. Version 2, calm, composed, confident. You move slowly, you breathe deeply, you smile at uncertainty, you trust your timing. Feel how light that energy is. Now imagine those two versions walking into a room full of opportunities. Which one do you think money would recognize? Which one would people want to work with? Which one feels magnetic? The answer is obvious. That's why you must start practicing calmness as a discipline, not as a reaction, but as a daily ritual. Wake up and speak peace into yourself before you speak panic into the world. Start your day not by checking your phone, but by checking your energy. Ask yourself, what frequency am I broadcasting today? Every decision you make is shaped by that frequency. Every word you speak is an instruction to your future. When you walk through life with unshakable calm, you tell the universe you are no longer afraid to receive. Because fear and abundance cannot live in the same house. Think of a bamboo tree. You water it every day for years, and nothing happens. No leaves, no growth, no sign of progress. And then suddenly, in the 5th year, it shoots up over 80 feet in 6 weeks. It wasn't growing in those early years? No, it was building roots deep underground, strengthening its foundation for rapid expansion. That's exactly what happens when you learn to act as if nothing bothers you. You're building invisible roots of wealth, emotional, spiritual, and mental. Everyone else will think you're stagnant. But when your moment arrives, you'll rise so fast they'll call it luck. It's not luck. It's alignment. And alignment isn't silent. It's magnetic. You'll start noticing strange things, random opportunities, surprising conversations, unexpected calls. Not because life suddenly favors you, but because you finally stopped resisting it. Resistance is the true enemy of wealth. Every time you complain, you resist. Every time you say, I can't afford it, you resist. Every time you act like money is rare, you resist. But when you learn to act as if nothing bothers you, you stop fighting and start flowing. You stop chasing and start attracting. Let me tell you about a woman named Sarah. She used to work 3 jobs, always exhausted, always behind. She told herself, if I just work harder, I'll escape this cycle. But she never did, because her energy was chaos. She was vibrating in desperation, not direction. One day she heard a phrase that changed her life. The calm mind creates the richest life. That night she quit one of her jobs, not out of rebellion, but out of clarity. She started meditating, journaling, breathing before reacting. For months, nothing seemed to change, but her energy did. She stopped panicking about bills. She stopped speaking the language of lack. She began saying, I always find a way. 6 months later, her former boss called her back, not with a job, but with a partnership offer. Within a year, she was earning 3 times her old income, working half the hours. She didn't become lucky. She became aligned. And it all began the day she learned to act as if nothing bothered her. You see, calmness isn't passivity, it's precision. The calm person sees what panic blinds others to. They notice opportunity in noise. They hear whispers where others only hear chaos. That's why Napoleon Hill taught that all wealth begins in the mind. Because once your mind becomes calm, your world becomes clear. When you live in that frequency, calm, abundant, centered, you become unstoppable. You don't wait for motivation. You don't wait for permission. You move with certainty because your energy is clean. People feel it when you walk into a room. They trust you before you speak. They want to invest in you before they understand why, because calmness is credibility. And that's the secret most people miss money. Doesn't chase noise. It follows peace. Calmness is not the absence of emotion. It's the mastery of it. It's the art of standing in the middle of chaos and choosing not to flinch. Because when you stop reacting, you start creating. Most people don't realize this. Their lives are on repeat because their emotions are on repeat. They get a bill, they panic, they see someone succeed, they feel jealousy, they hear no, and they spiral into self-doubt. Their frequency resets every day to fear, and then they wonder why nothing ever changes. The wealthy are not superhuman. They're just emotionally consistent. When things go wrong, they stay calm enough to keep thinking clearly. They don't let life drag them into reaction. They hold the vibration of control. And that control creates flow. Let me tell you something straight. Money doesn't come to those who try to prove they deserve it. It comes to those who already know they do. There's a power that comes when you stop performing for wealth and start preparing for it. When you no longer beg for opportunity, but become the kind of person opportunity is drawn to. You've seen it, people who seem to just have it. They're not louder, not necessarily more talented, but their energy is clean. You trust them instinctively. You believe in them instantly. That's the vibration of a person who is no longer moved by external noise. And if you want to attract wealth, you have to learn that same discipline, emotional neutrality. When you lose money, you don't curse life. You breathe. You observe. You say, this is temporary. The lesson is eternal. When people doubt you, you don't defend yourself. You build quietly. When others get emotional, you get focused. Because the moment you react, you lose power. The moment you control your reaction, you reclaim it. Napoleon Hill said, "Self-discipline begins with mastery of your thoughts. If you don't control what you think, you can't control what you do." That's not philosophy, that's practical wealth psychology. You can't control the economy. You can't control markets, bosses, or algorithms. But you can control your vibration, and that is where every fortune begins. Imagine you're standing in a storm. The winds are violent. The rain is pounding. You can't stop the storm, but you can anchor yourself. That anchor is your inner calm. And when others run, panic, or drown, you stay firm, still, grounded, watching. That's what emotional mastery looks like. The calm mind isn't blind to problems. It just refuses to make them bigger through fear. It faces life without flinching. Because calmness doesn't say, everything is easy. It says, I am prepared for whatever comes. You can't fake that vibration. People feel it. Money feels it. Opportunities feel it. That's why when you learn to act as if nothing bothers you, your world starts to rearrange. People begin to see you as trustworthy. They want to collaborate, invest, and follow you. Not because of luck, but because your energy says, I can handle it. The universe doesn't give more to those who want more. It gives more to those who can hold more. And the unbothered mind can hold more. You ever notice how some people lose everything and rebuild, while others lose little and crumble? The difference isn't resources, it's resilience. When you've trained your mind not to collapse under pressure, you become dangerous to mediocrity. You become someone who can't be shaken. And that's when life begins to trust you with more. But let's make this real. You will be tested. Every time you decide to rise, the world will ask, are you sure? You'll face delays, betrayals, disappointments, not as punishment, but as training. Every test you face is a rehearsal for wealth. If you fall apart over small problems, how will you manage abundance? If you lose composure when things go wrong, how will you handle leadership, investment, expansion? You're being shaped right now not to survive scarcity, but to sustain prosperity. Acting as if nothing bothers you doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means leading reality. You're not pretending things are perfect. You're choosing not to be ruled by what's imperfect. You're deciding that no matter what happens, your state of mind will remain your own. That's power. That's wealth. Think about it. Every empire, every great fortune, every revolution began with someone who stayed calm when everyone else panicked. They could see beyond the noise because their emotions weren't clouding their vision. Calm people think long-term. Reactive people think in survival mode, and survival mode kills creativity. Let's bring this home with a story. There were two investors during a market crash. Both lost millions overnight. The first one panicked. He sold everything, called his partners in rage, blamed the system, and quit. The second one sat in silence for 3 days. He didn't move, didn't react. On the fourth day, he began buying stocks. Everyone else was dumping. 2 years later, his net worth had doubled. The difference? One reacted to fear. The other acted from calm. Fear creates blindness. Calm creates vision. That's why the only mindset that attracts wealth is the one that cannot be shaken. The mindset that says, I'm good either way. Because when you no longer depend on money to feel worthy, money starts to depend on you to feel safe. Now listen, you cannot walk in wealth with the posture of a beggar. You cannot build an empire while vibrating in fear. You must learn to move like a king or queen long before the crown arrives. That's what Hill meant by acting as if. You act as if you already have the peace you seek. You walk as if success is already unfolding. You speak as if life is conspiring in your favor. You invest as if your value is undeniable. That energy, that conviction, is magnetic. And when that energy becomes your habit, money starts showing up in strange ways. Not because it's magic, but because you've stopped blocking it. Let me say this plainly. You cannot outwork a broken frequency. You can't grind your way past self-doubt. You can't hustle your way out of insecurity. You have to rewire the inner signal. Because when you finally align your identity with abundance, you'll notice something strange. You won't chase money anymore. Money will chase you. That's the moment when life flips. That's when effort turns into flow. That's when you realize that wealth was never about the paper. It was about the person. When you become unbothered, you become untouchable. Your calm becomes your crown. Your peace becomes your proof. Your discipline becomes your magnet. Because the universe doesn't respond to stress, it responds to sovereignty. And when you learn to stand tall in silence, unshaken by chaos, grounded in faith, that's when life whispers back, you're ready. You'll begin to see opportunities appear out of nowhere. People will start saying, you've changed. They won't understand it, but they'll feel it. Because your energy will no longer scream desperation. It will radiate direction. You'll move through life with that rare balance, humble but unstoppable, calm but fierce, grounded but rising. That's when you know you've entered the frequency of wealth. There comes a moment in every person's journey when they realize the truth. Wealth isn't something you chase, it's something you become. Not because of what you own, but because of what you embody. The calm, unshaken, unbothered version of you that's the magnet money has been waiting for. You don't attract wealth by fighting harder. You attract it by becoming the person who no longer needs to fight. Listen carefully. The world doesn't reward the person who complains the loudest. It rewards the person who walks through pressure with quiet certainty, who moves through failure without losing center, who remains grateful when nothing's working. Because the real test of abundance isn't when everything goes your way. It's when nothing does and you still move like someone who believes. The truth is, calm people are rare. Everyone wants peace, but few are willing to practice it. Everyone talks about faith, but few stand tall when the storm hits. But the calm ones, they win quietly. They don't need to announce their growth. They just keep rising, one unshaken step at a time. The universe respects that energy. It recognizes consistency. It listens to emotional discipline. And when you reach that level, when nothing outside you can break the peace inside you, you stop needing wealth as proof of worthiness. You become the proof. Napoleon Hill taught that every thought, every emotion is a seed. Most people keep planting weeds of worry and wonder why their gardens are full of struggle. You're about to plant stillness, belief, focus, and from that soil will grow everything you once chased. That's why this mindset, this ability to act as if nothing bothers you, is not arrogance. It's ascension. It's the art of living in grace while walking through fire. It's the quiet defiance that says, I refuse to let the noise of the world silence the power within me. Because when you stop reacting to every problem, you start responding from power. And power always attracts prosperity. Let's bring this closer. You felt it before, that moment, when you stopped overthinking and just trusted your gut. When you said no to a toxic job, no to a fear-based choice, no to something beneath your standards, and suddenly life opened up. That was alignment. That was you speaking the language of wealth. Every time you honor your inner calm instead of your outer chaos, you step deeper into abundance. Every time you choose faith over fear, you rewrite your frequency. Every time you breathe instead of break, you broadcast the signal of strength. And soon, the world begins to mirror it. Your relationships get calmer. Your ideas get sharper. Your results start multiplying not because you're forcing anything, but because you've stopped resisting everything. That's how the wealthy move. That's why they seem untouchable. Their calm is not weakness, it's control. Their silence is not passivity, it's strategy. They've learned that power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, I'm ready, and the universe hears it. I want you to imagine something. Tomorrow morning, you wake up. Before checking your phone, before letting the noise in you sit still, you breathe, and you tell yourself, today, I act as if nothing bothers me. You walk through your day unhurried, grounded, aware. When someone disrespects you, you don't react, you rise. When a challenge appears, you don't flinch, you focus. When fear whispers, you don't listen, you lead. And slowly, people begin to feel it. Your boss, your family, your clients, your friends, they can't quite explain it, but they trust you more. Because calm energy is credibility, and credibility is currency. Money follows certainty, and certainty is built in silence. So every time you want to panic, pause. Every time you want to rush, breathe. Every time you feel scarcity creeping in, whisper to yourself, I am safe, I am stable, I am already wealthy within. That's not delusion, that's direction. You're teaching your nervous system to stop reacting like a victim and start vibrating like a leader. Because once you master your state, you master your story. And from that story, abundance is written. Let me remind you of something Napoleon Hill said. There are no limitations to the mind except those we acknowledge. The moment you stop acknowledging fear, you stop empowering it. The moment you stop bowing to doubt, you start rising in faith. You've been conditioned to believe that peace comes after success. But the truth is, peace creates success. It's the foundation every empire stands on. No matter where you are, right now, broke, behind, rebuilding, understand this. You're not starting from zero. You're starting from wisdom. You're starting from awareness. You're starting from power. Because you've learned the most valuable lesson most people never do. You've learned to act as if nothing bothers you. And that, right there, is wealth. You see, wealth is not the car, the house, or the status. Wealth is emotional stability. Wealth is the ability to smile when life tests you. Wealth is the power to say, I'm still here, I'm still aligned, I'm still moving forward. The moment you reach that level of peace, you'll begin to see money differently. It's no longer something you pursue. It's something that responds to you. You'll stop asking, when will it come, and start declaring, it's already on the way. You'll stop waiting for signs and start becoming one, because money follows order, not chaos. It flows to clarity, not confusion. It gravitates toward confidence, not desperation. And when your energy says, nothing can shake me, life begins to pour blessings into your hands. You'll realize that every loss was just a lesson in disguise. Every delay was building your patience. Every rejection was refining your character. And the person you've become through all of it, calm, grounded, wise, that's the real fortune. You can lose money and make it back. But once you've built emotional mastery, you can rebuild anything, because that's the one currency that never depreciates. So from this day on, stop chasing, start commanding, stop reacting, start creating. Learn to walk through the noise with grace. Learn to smile at uncertainty. Learn to hold peace even when others lose theirs. And when you do, when nothing outside can break the calm inside, you'll step into that rare magnetic power that most people spend their lives searching for. That's when you'll understand what Napoleon Hill really meant. When you become master of your mind, you become master of your destiny. Because when you act as if nothing bothers you, you've already won. You've already become the frequency wealth cannot ignore. You've already stepped into the dimension where success doesn't chase you, it recognizes you. Where money doesn't tempt you, it trusts you. Where life doesn't test you, it partners with you. And from that place of calm authority, you'll rise. So rise. Rise with quiet power. Rise with graceful control. Rise with faith louder than fear. Act as if nothing bothers you. Because the truth is, nothing can touch a mind that has learned to remain still. And in that stillness, you will attract everything.